So it's a bit of a special video because this will be in English. Well, let's just consider this as a wind of change. Don't think I'm gonna set up any IELTS coaching or something, or who knows. Well, here we are gonna talk about today's 80k build. People here and there in group chat or my inbox saying that Bhaiya, you should build a build which will be under 80,000 taka and which will definitely gonna satisfy the need of a creator and a gamer. I say here we go. There is the build. We are gonna build a 80k build today. We are gonna see what components we are using. There will be benchmark and everything. You are watching me, Anurag. You are watching this Techland Bangladesh, your destination for detailed and incisive tech reviews. First and foremost, we are going to talk about the brain of our build, which is none other than the processor. The processor we have picked for our this build is none other than AMD Ryzen 5 7500F. And this is a gigantic, enormously powerful processor, and why not? Around the budget of 15,800 taka, it consists of 6-core 12-thread and a maximum of 5 GHz core clock speed. And I definitely believe this is gonna be the CPU of the year at some point of this year. And this processor, with this processor, I'm gonna say, the motherboard we are picking is definitely another thing necessary. We are picking none other than Pro B650MP by MSI, and this motherboard has a good reputation of better VRM stability, voltage regulation, and 4 of the RAM slots and 2 NVMe slots. So definitely this will gonna be our choice because this is a very renowned motherboard. Now we are gonna talk about is the RAM module and memory controllers. After the motherboard, which has cost us 13,300 taka approximately, which can fluctuate definitely. Now we are going to talk about the RAM which we have implemented in our build. As far as we are concerned about the RAM, we took the best in the budget, and that's our Corsair Vengeance DDR5 6000 MHz, and it has the definite 36 CL cache latency, which is market best, we have to say, and it has a nice RGB strip which looks very sleek and good. So this will be our RAM, which will cost around you 7,800 taka. Now we are going to talk about our another memory module, which is the SSD. Regarding, as this is a Zen 4 build, PCI Zen 4 motherboard, Zen 4 processor, why not taking a Zen 4 SSD? But what we have took is a Kingston NV2, which is a Zen 4 entry-level SSD, and I'm not particularly a very much fan of this SSD, but this does do the work. It has Zen 4 tag, and the speed we'll seeing in the upcoming benchmark, which we have provided in the later part of this video. Now we are gonna talk about the GPU, the real thing of this build. Considering the budget of 80,000 taka, the GPU we have taken has a quite lot of reputation, and all of them are not so good. The real fuss is this Arc A750. Somebody will say about this GPU, yeah bro, you're dog. This is a very quiet GPU. 4 very breeze. This is a very pooky GPU. Arc 750 is a real pooky. And some other people will say, oh my god, that's an absolute skibidi, bruv. If you buy this GPU, your ex will come to your nightmare, bruv. Huh? Don't take this, it's real jinx, bruv. Well, let's not put under this GPU in Genji's judgment. Rather, I will say Arc 750 has recently quite stepped up a lot, and it has the driver stability issue which have people been talking about. I have tested it. It has been deliberately performing well, and it will cost you around 27,000 taka. And in the benchmark segment of gaming and synthetic, we'll talk about more about this GPU. Now we have to talk about the power supply system we have taken into this build. Well, power supply I believe is a very sensitive part of the system because the whole system stability and security somewhat very much rely on the power supply system. So we have taken the Corsair CX550 80+ bronze rated power supply, which is very good in the budget segment I believe, and it has the reputation, good reputation, of course we have to talk about. And actually we don't have to talk about much because for a long time period people are using this power supply, and it will cost us around 5,600 taka, which can fluctuate of course. Now we'll talk about the casing of our system. About casing, I always say that casing has always been a personal matter and personal preference, because you should pick the exact casing which you do like and love. So but we have to put a casing of course in this build. So we have put the GameDias Aura GC6, which is I think quite a robust casing around the budget of 3,600 taka, and it delivers more considering what is costing. Well, it has 3 fans which are ARGB synced, and it can store up to 80x motherboard. There are clearance of 240mm AIO easily, and there are a good looking PSU shroud. Overall the tempered glass is also very much tough, I think, which won't break quite easily. So Aura GC6, I think that will add up a bunch of extra aesthetic in our build, which I think, but again, I am gonna say that casing is always been your preference. So now we are gonna talk about the whole total system. So the total system will gonna be cost you around 80,000 taka exact, and you will gonna get this offer to claim from any Techland branch. And as well as I'm gonna always say that this PC has been this PC has been special for the video, and you're gonna only acclaim this price if you do refer the video. Now we are gonna talk about the synthetic benchmark and gaming benchmark, from which we can get a better concept that how it will gonna be performing in next days if you buy this PC. First of all, as per our tradition, we continued our benchmark with Geekbench 6. In Geekbench 6, when we completed the benchmark, we saw that in single core aspect, the Ryzen 5 7500F pushed 2716, and in multi-core aspect it pushed 11090, which is a really great score, I have to say. Considering the budget of 15,800 taka, it's a gigantic processor. Then when we continued our benchmark to PC Mark 10, PC Mark 10 is a very renowned software, and in our case the PC Mark 10, the whole system scored 8200, which is again I'm gonna say 94% better than the rest of the world, which has directly PC Mark 10 has showed us. Next we have moved on to 3D Mark WildF TimeSpy benchmark, which is another very famous benchmark. When we completed the TimeSpy benchmark, the system scored 11,640, which is again a very respectable score. Then remember, we have put a Zen 4 Kingston SSD in our system. We have to measure the speed of this SSD. Well, when we measured the speed of this SSD by Crystal Disk Mark, we saw that the read speed was 3709, which is quite respectable, peak Gen 3 speed, I guess. Then we took the write speed, sequential write, and saw that it scores 2651, 2651 Mbps, which is okay-ish score, not so great, I have to say. Then the one thing we have to talk about is the VRM, aka voltage regulatory MOSFET score, and the temperature stability of this motherboard. We have mentioned in our earlier videos that MSI Pro B650MP has a good VRM system, which works quite well with the 7500F, and when we put this system on a torture test and saw that the VRM temperature was quite respectable, and it was only 56 degrees Celsius, while the processor was deliberately pushing to 4.8 GHz constantly. So definitely we have to say that the combo of Pro B650MP and the CPU both scored really very well. Now we are gonna jump into our gaming benchmark and see how our Pookie GPU scores. In our gaming benchmark, we started with Cyberpunk 2077, and all the game we have benchmarked, we did it in ultra preset, so that you can get a better understanding that how this GPU gonna perform in new max preset settings. And we have turned off the ray tracing and etc., or any sort of upscaling technology. So when we started with the in-law of NVIDIA, aka Cyberpunk 2077, we saw that RX 750 and the combo of 7500F is quite pushing it really well. It has delivered us average of 74 FPS, and in 1% low it was 53 FPS. And then again, when we moved on into Alan Wake 2, which is a very system crushing game, I must have to say, of course, we saw that in average, in high preset, the GPU delivered us in average 40 FPS, and in 1% low it delivered a 16 FPS around, which was not so well. But again, Alan Wake in high preset is a very torturous game. And lastly, when we played the Horizon Forbidden West in very high settings, we saw that the combo of GPU and CPU is providing us the average of 48 FPS, and in 1% low it was 38 FPS. And this is our gaming benchmark. We didn't stretch it quite long, but from AAA games we can definitely say the GPU and CPU gonna make it worth it. Now we have to jump onto the conclusion, and let's see the justification of this build. So the question stands, if you buy this build around 80,000 taka, is this gonna be worth it or not? Well, let's just consider from our first point. We have taken a very veteran grade CPU in our budget, we have to say, a decent motherboard along with a okayish SSD, which you can, if you want, you can upgrade those. And we have to talk about our Pookie GPU, which has been really performing well. And yes, another thing, people are also asking me, Bhaiya, what should I get in the aspect of 27,000 taka? Is it gonna be RX 750 or this RX 6600 from AMD? And our next immediate video will be regarding these two's battle, which are gonna be performing well. We're gonna see in that video. Well, if you are a gamer, any game this that can be handled by this PC very well, I can say. If you gonna be working on the segment of content creation, ARC has always been very much reputed in the segment of content creation, especially video editing, because in this budget segment, it provides you AV1 encoding, which is a really game changer, I have to say. We have taken a budget-based PSU, I think, very reputed PSU, and casing, we have to put this casing into this build, but casing is your preference. So as per as we have analyzed the performance, I think this PC will gonna be very much worth it in the budget, and the RAM is also good. But one weakness, we have kept this in build, that is we didn't use any aftermarket CPU cooler, that could be AIO radiator or air cooler. I think you should put this because we saw that in our torture test that Ryzen 5 7500 is a very hot-headed processor, and it deliberately pushes up to 92-93 degrees Celsius. Though AMD says it's a new normal, but I think it can be an issue in our long-term use, and AMD stock cooler is not so good. So this is our build. If you like this, you can acclaim from this techline, and if you like this video, our new effort to you guys and wind of change, I think you can like this video and comment what you need next. You can do one thing more, that is you can join our Techolic Bangladesh, which is our Facebook group. I have put the link in below description. Here we talk about CPU GPU and the fight of GPUs, SSDs, monitors, and there are a lot of tech news and lot of fun stuffs you can add there. So this is it. I'm Anurag signing out, and definitely I'll catch you on the next one.